Thank you for joining us. This is the Allon Exchange, financial planning strategies for you, our viewers. With Jay and Brittany Hagee, they are the founders of Allon Planning Partners. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Jay and Brittany, how are you both doing this week?
Hey.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Doing good.
We are tossing, I guess, this up to you today, Spike.
Me?
How are you feeling today, and what do you want to talk about?
Oh boy, oh boy. Well, this is just something, and talking with contemporaries and talking with yourselves, that there's folks around the country we share ideas with, and it just seems that retiring today will look different tomorrow than the retirement of yesterday. Can we talk about that?
Wait, what? Say that again?
Was that a Dr. Seuss novel?
Retiring today will look different tomorrow than the retirement of yesterday. Meaning, is today's retirement the same thing as our grandparents' retirement 30 years ago?
That's an easier way to say it.
Okay, all right.
that one hits
Keep
the mark.
it simple, Stuart.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that.
Okay, well, no, it is not. It is not the same as our grandparents.
Yeah.
It's not the same as our parents. It is not the same at all. One is because longevity. We are living longer. Medical advances, it's been great. We're actually conscious of our health, and so we are living longer than ever before. We have to prepare for a much longer retirement. If you're out there today, and you may, that excites some people, and that actually scares some people, right? If you haven't prepared well and you feel unprepared, that may put some fear in you, and we don't want that. That's why we're here. But for some folks, that's exciting. I get to not work and live a lot longer and do what I want to do, right? And that's what we want to hit on today.
Especially for you women. Like, I have to interject here because
that is true.
We will live longer statistically than our male counterparts, which means that we have to make what we have last us longer than even they do. So we're outnumbered, and we have got to make more of what we have, which means we better be planning, we better be strategizing. We can't depend on a pension any longer. I mean, I think about my grandparents, and Jay and I were talking about this recently.
Retired.
His grandparents, they had pensions, and that pension is what funded their retirement. They worked for a company for so many years, and they collected that pension. It's not that way anymore. I mean, so many of, if you have a pension, that's pretty rare these days. So the point is, we have to really create our own pensions. How do we create this distribution strategy for ourselves?
And that's the biggest point.
Because things are so different.
That's the biggest point. Is our grandparents didn't have to think about an income plan. They didn't have to think about, how do I turn all of these personal savings into an income that's going to last, not only last back then 10 to 15 years, but today last as long as you've worked, probably 30 to 35 years is at the longest, right, that we're seeing. So really have to create income plans without all of Social Security, because that was their income plan, right? Social Security, pension, and personal savings. That is what they used. Right, today, we're saying use Social Security, but use it as a supplement, not as the retirement income plan. You have to take your 401ks, your IRAs, your Roth accounts, your TSPs, maybe rental properties that you've accumulated, personal savings, investment accounts that are just brokerage accounts, anything that you've stuffed under the mattress, right? And say, I'm going to turn all of these sources into a income source that needs to last me 20, 30, 35 years,
that's
right?
The challenge.
And that is the challenge that most people have today, but that's the solution that we offer. Because what we want to do is take those mysteries in those accounts and bring clarity to them. Where you may have a blind spot, we've talked about that on shows before, where you've had blind spots in your income plan or your asset allocations, and say, hey, you may want to think about how you're allocated, because it's going to affect your income later. You may want to think about not going too conservative with your investments, because you need them to last longer. You may want to think about not taking too much risk right now on your investments, because they may be depleted sooner than you need. You have to take a good balanced approach. So we want to make sure that we create an income plan that is going to last you for the long haul. That's what we're looking
and you've
to do.
got me thinking about our grandparents, because we're talking about this, right? And I think my dad's dad, he was an exceptional man. I mean, all around, he was just...
Agreed.
He just exuded joy, and he was so loving and caring, and I mean, he had such a bubbly personality and so warm and caring.
I wonder who he passed it down to, because you have one
well,
too.
if I am 1/10 of what he is, then I would be thrilled. But
sure
he had this motto that he really lived by, and it was, there's always a solution. And when Jay and I started this business well over a decade ago, we're like, man, we're going to carry that. He inspired us. He inspired us to do what we're doing and to apply our heart and our passion to our work, and to love and serve and care for other people, and to help them find solutions. I mean, I can remember him walking around the house. He'd go, ba, 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 and he'd be singing and humming, and like he'd have these little tunes. Joy. He just exuded joy. But he verbally said over and over, you know what? There's always a solution. We'd come to him with the problem. There's always a solution. Let's work through it. And that's how we feel. That's what we want to do for you. We understand you have problems when it comes to your money, and you have questions. You have those things that Jay mentioned a moment ago that may bring a little bit of angst and, you know, unease within you. Yeah, we want to help you maintain that. Don't allow that to be stolen from you. Yeah, keep that joy and that excitement and vigor for life. And we want to help you be able to navigate this season, navigate this whole money thing and investing in a way that you can walk in peace and ease and solutions, not just drowning in problems or a tax bill here or, you know, an extra fee there. No. Narrow all that down and let's provide you the solutions. That's part of what we do.
Jay, we're going to have to focus on Brittany here for a little bit because I can't let you off this joy. Do you remember what kind of things what did your grandfather do? So what got, because it sounded like he really enjoyed his retirement.
Oh my gosh.
Singing and whistling around the house.
Well, I got to live with him my final year of college. And so that was, I mean, we had a really tight relationship, but that final year of college was really solidifying, and man, we were just
and
really tight.
What kind of industry? What did he do?
Yeah, he was in full-time vocational ministry. So he served in all kinds of different roles within a church organization, but his heart was just to serve and to love people. And that's what he did. He served people, he loved people, and the number one encourager. He was an absolute encourager.
Yeah. Jay, yourself, what kind of things did your grandparents do, and did they have a retirement that they were able to enjoy?
So my grandfather was in the Army, and then he worked for the State Department. So he had a pension, and he had Social Security, which was a little bit more reliable then than it is now, and personal savings. They were great savers. They were very frugal. They understand, going through things like the Great Depression and what they saw their families walk through really affected how they saved, and so they were very frugal with their money. But at the same time, they had strategies that we no longer have available to us today, because a lot of folks come in, back in the 90s. Companies started getting rid of pension plans because they realized that the longer the people live, the more we have to pay out over time. We're going to go broke. And so they had to say, we're going to give you these funds, these 401ks, 403Bs, TSPs, whatever they are, and we're going to allow you to pick your own investments. We're going to allow you total freedom over these funds in a certain stance. They are yours. If you leave this company, you can be vested after a certain amount of years and keep that amount, where a pension may not work that way, right? But the difference is you now are responsible for your retirement. We're not responsible as the company for your retirement anymore. That's the difference between my grandfather's retirement account and most of the retirees and my retirement accounts today. We're responsible for that income plan. And where the joy comes from, where the peace, where the singing comes from, is if you have a strategy, because there's always a solution, to say, I understand how I'm going to take income, not only for a year or 2 years, or I'm going to wing it and pull it from this place or that place and hope that it works out, but really having a strategy to say, with the ups and downs of the markets, with taxes and how I'm going to have to pull out of these accounts, I understand that these accounts can last for 20 or 30 years. We want to put those plans together for folks.
Yeah, we can help you get started on your own written financial plan. I think the concept we want you to take away from the opening of the program here is 30 years, 30 years possibly in retirement. How do you create income? How do you have safety with your health care plan? We're going to discuss some of those solutions when we get back, but you can get started right now on your own written financial plan for retirement. Just call that phone number. Don't go anywhere. More of the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany right after this.
Just a minute with Allon Planning Partners, Brad Johansson, Brittany Hagan. We're talking about tax planning. You got two types?
The way I see it, Brad, there are two different approaches when it comes to tax planning.
All right.
The first is reactive. Basically just writing the check and paying the IRS what they're due when they tell you it's due.
Don't like it.
Reactive approach, right? You have very little control in that scenario. The second option is proactive, to be proactive in your tax planning, to actually plan ahead. One benefit of doing this is that you actually have many more options for your taxes, controlling when you pay taxes, how you pay taxes, and how much. Yes, even how much taxes you pay. You can have some say over. So the best way to plan for taxes is proactively.
Be proactive. Just a Minute with Allon could change everything.
We know you have money questions. Questions about your investments, about taxes, our economy, Social Security, mutual funds, ETFs, and so much more.
So we want to provide you with answers. We've created a YouTube channel, a weekly podcast, educational videos, and many resources designed just for you. At Allon Planning Partners, it's our mission to invest in you, and this is part of how we do that.
Click the link below to watch and subscribe today.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with financial advisors Jay and Brittany Hagee. 30 years of retirement planning. How do we make sure our money lasts? Unbelievable. You're right. We're living longer than we ever have. You're even righter. Women live longer than me and Jay very likely will.
Right.
So we've got to plan for the women in our lives for that period of time. How do we turn the life savings that we've now become responsible for in 401ks into income that's supposed to last for 30 years?
Very broad topic, so there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this, but we can give you a few things here over the airwaves that we want you to come in and talk with us about personally, right? Because you need a bucket strategy. You need to not have all of your accounts in one spot, invested the same way, pulling out of the same pot for all of your income going forward. You have to break it up to where you have a short, mid, and long-term time horizon on different types of accounts. One vehicle that we don't talk about a lot, but that is utilized in a short-term vehicle that could end up long-term is, because there's no risk involved in a lot of these, is annuities. Now, there are good annuities and bad annuities. That brings up a lot of emotion a lot of times when folks talk about annuities, because they're like, oh, I've heard those things are terrible, or I absolutely love annuities and I want another one because it's worked so well. It really is that diverse when it comes to annuity planning. And so you can utilize certain annuities to create pension type plans to give you guaranteed lifetime income. And so if you can solve that guaranteed lifetime income piece of the puzzle before you have to worry about risk allocation and everything else, it's going to take a lot of the load off. And so we do sometimes use those vehicles to help folks manage their lifetime income.
Yeah, we have a number of those solutions. You know, another one of those solutions or vehicles that we could utilize to build that would be like dividend-paying stocks, right? So you're utilizing the dividend as well as the growth and the equity itself, the value of the stock itself. So there's really great benefit in that for creating continual income. So the point here is that we have multiple strategies for how to withdraw, and it's very unique to a number of factors centered around our clients.
That's right.
We focus on their needs, what works for them, what their income needs to be, what are their expenses, what's their personality. We take your emotions into account, and this may be unique for us as financial advisors. I don't hear too many talking about that, but we want to create a plan that you'll stick to. And if we're going to do that, we have to consider your behaviors. We have to consider your patterns. We have to consider your personal financial habits when it comes to all of this. So a lot of those factors come together to help us determine which of these strategies we actually use.
And that's kind of like having a good dietitian, right? Because you can give me the most optimal plan, or you can give me the one I'll actually stick to. You can tell me, Jay, eat baked chicken and rice every meal from now until eternity, and maybe broccoli every now and then, and you will be absolutely perfectly healthy. Well, I may do that for a week. I may do that for a month. I may do that for 2 months. But eventually I'm going to see that cheeseburger. And I'm going to be like,
or we're going to take that chicken and fry it up.
You know,
We've actually tried that. So he's speaking from experience.
Listen, there
we've
is an
done that. We're
optimal
like,
plan,
this baked chicken
and then there's
rice,
a reality
beans.
of that. So you have to look at your finances the same way. Here's an optimal plan. If you set it up just like this, you'll never run out of money. But we know that people have emotions, that it's not just a static black and white conversation. So we have to say, here's what's optimal. But like Brittany said, take every client into consideration, their wants, their needs, their desires, their emotions and behaviors.
And we're trying to create, again, 30 years of income from things like our 401ks, our savings. You've got two of us. You've got folks like yourselves who might have different risk tolerances even between couples.
Absolutely.
But I think part of the theory is that you're supposed to get more conservative with your investments the closer you get to retirement. Is there a problem with getting too conservative too soon when I'm talking about 30 years? Don't I have to have some growth?
We actually see that. We actually see folks come in and they think, oh man, I want another annuity because that worked for me.
It works
or
so good.
because that was really conservative. Or, but the problem with that, when you get so heavy on the conservative side, I mean, there's a number of problems. One, you can't keep up with inflation. How are you going to be able to keep up with inflation when you have everything invested so conservatively on that side? So what's beautiful about the kind of plans that we put together, it's not one or the other, just based on this formulaic age, right? That you're at this age, so this rubber stamp should be what fits you. But it's the sliding scale of all those factors we considered,
That's right.
as well as the balance between, okay, we have to have some risk to keep up with inflation and continue growing, but then also providing that stability, that security through to provide the income as well. And then, of course, you bring in the middle and have those kind of mid-risk, midterm as well. So it really creates a much better balance.
Diversified
there.
bucket.
Okay, so since Jay's not going to be able to stay on the baked chicken and rice diet, we know that we're going to cheat. We're going to go get some fried chicken. Between couples, do you maybe come up with two different plans? Like Jay's at retirement lasts 25 years, but we got to make sure yours goes out to 30 years? Or do you make adjustments depending on how long the couples live
We run
together?
a lot
How do you
of
do
what
it?
if scenarios like that,
Okay,
right? So
all right.
we like, what if this spouse predeceases this spouse, right? By 5 years, by 10 years, what does that look like? So we try to plan together to begin with. If you both live to 95, here's what it's going to look like, right? But if one passes away at 75 and the other one lives to 90, here's what it's going to look like. Because you have to take things in consideration like half the Social Security amount they're going to get. Maybe there are some small pensions left that where that's going to completely go away, or it just is half to the spouse, right? So we absolutely can run what if scenarios like that, and we do on a regular basis to make sure what if these different scenarios happen, how's it going to affect your long-term income
And
plan?
I'll just add to that as far as the whole couple approach. If you are married, you should be planning together. It doesn't mean you can't have some separate
That is
spin
right.
buckets or something, right? You can still have those things, but you should be planning together, because the reality is your financial decisions, your financial positioning doesn't just impact you. It impacts your spouse as well. And so taking the entire household into consideration and making all of that work together for the benefit of you both. That's the target.
If you've never put together 30 years of an income plan, making sure that you don't run out of assets as long as both of you are alive, please do yourself a favor. Call right now, set up an appointment, come on in, have a conversation. There's no cost, there's no obligation. Let us help you get started on your own written financial plan for retirement. Let's take out all the question marks for you. When we get back, we're going to explain a little bit more about what goes into that written financial plan. Because if it's 30 years, do we do this in pencil? We're going to have to make some changes here and there. How do we adjust a 30-year written financial plan for you? Don't go anywhere. Call that phone number right now. More of the Allon Exchange right after this.
Do you know how taxes will impact your financial future? We meet with many families day after day who have saved years for retirement in a 401k, 403b, or an IRA. But they come to realize they don't truly have a financial plan. They have questions like, how do I turn my money into income streams to last me through retirement? How do I know if I'm best positioned for market volatility and inflation concerns? And how do I ensure I'm not overpaying in taxes? This is one of the greatest tax windows in history, and now is the time to take advantage of this discount while you can. The good news is we specialize in areas such as proper portfolio allocation, retirement income strategies, and tax planning. When you meet with us, you'll walk away with solutions, with answers to your questions. You'll walk away with a written, comprehensive financial plan. Reach out today for your complimentary portfolio review and tax analysis.
You've worked hard for your money, so it just makes sense that you would like to keep as much of it as possible. At Allon Planning Partners, we can help you avoid common tax mistakes. We'll work with you to minimize your tax burden in an effort to maximize your income in retirement. We will ensure that you have a comprehensive written financial plan. Call the number you see here for your complimentary consultation.
Welcome back to the Allon Exchange with Jay and Brittany Hagee. We're trying to consider 30 years of retirement planning. We've talked a little bit about income. We're trying to figure out exactly how we cover the health care and so forth. Taxes, though. How about I ask you this? Can you guys tell me what the tax rates are going to be in 30 years?
Oh, wow.
I wish I could tell you what they're going to be in 30 days, because that's kind of what's happening right now, right? Like, we hope that we can continue to keep some of these low tax rates that we've had, but that is the problem in retirement, and that is why you need to consider your taxes, because when you look at your IRA, your 401k, your TSP, your tax-deferred accounts, what the number you're seeing there is not the number that you're going to live on. It's a number that you owe some of that to Uncle Sam. And like you said, do we know what that tax rate's going to be? We can tell you today, if you take some of that money out and use it, what it's going to be. But in 30 years, who knows what it's going to be? What I will tell you is that national debt levels are through the roof, so it probably is going to be more expensive tomorrow than it is today. But that's why we create tools for you guys to put into your hands so that you can understand what am I looking at as far as taxes are concerned for my accounts as of today, and how do I maybe get out of some of those taxes tomorrow. If you go to exchangemytaxbill.com, you can click on the QR code right there on your screen. You can spend 60 to 90 seconds plugging in the information of your IRA or your 401k, your tax-deferred accounts, and it's going to spit you out and illuminate, shine a bright light on, here's how much you're going to owe in taxes right now. It also is going to give you, if you do a Roth conversion and a lump sum, here's what you may be able to save, right? And there's going to be a lot of things that it doesn't show you, but it's going to give you a great idea of how much taxes you owe and how much of that account is actually yours. And let us help you put a tax strategy together so that you pay less in taxes in the future.
Yeah, because taxes don't go away in retirement. Taxes don't automatically just dissipate, or
That's right.
They actually increase. They increase because the government tells you, hey, you have to take from these accounts now. You don't have a choice any longer once you reach required minimum distribution age, which right now is 73, and it's moving later to 75 here in the next couple of years. So you come to a point where you are required to withdraw from those tax-deferred accounts.
That's right.
So actually planning a strategy, what are you going to do with that money? If you don't need that income, that can really cause a tax burden and a problem for folks if they don't need the dollars in those accounts. So planning strategy around what to do with those required minimum distributions.
It's a two-edged sword, because taxes, we believe, will go up, right? But those accounts, as long as they're held in tax-deferred accounts, all the growth continues, and we hope we're going to continue to grow your accounts by a massive amount, but as long as we continue to grow those accounts inside there, your tax bill just keeps getting higher, because all of those monies are going to continue to grow tax deferred, meaning you got to pay taxes later. How do we get those into a Roth account or a tax never bucket? Tax now so that you're never taxed again. That's what the strategy.
Well, and that leads me to another thought, because we had a gentleman come in recently who had a really large IRA. It was around $7 million in this IRA. And he thought, well, I'll just pass this IRA on to my kids and they'll inherit it tax-free. We had to be the bearer of bad news and illuminate that fact. That's not how that works. That's still taxable. It's actually worse than you think, and that not only is it not tax-free to them, they only have 10 years as your heirs to withdraw from that account and deplete the entire account. And think about it, because those kids typically are the ones inheriting those accounts from parents. They are in their highest wage earning years of their career. So their tax brackets are much higher. And then they're being forced to withdraw from these inherited accounts, which means they're paying more in taxes and actually able to keep and use less of what you earned. Again, crafting a strategy around this to ensure that does not happen. We have another tool because, again, remember, thanks to my grandpa and his inspiration to us, there is always a solution. And so we have created another tool for you, the Legacy Quiz, thelegacyquiz.com. You can actually go online, visit this URL, take a look at this website, asks you a number of questions, and it will just help you navigate through some of these estate type planning questions that you may have, ensuring that what you have gets passed on to who you want it to receive. And then also while you are living, that you are able to make the most of what you have while you're living and that you have all your bases covered there.
I'm so glad that you brought it up because, again, going back to a 30-year possible retirement, those last few years, we might need a little help from our family, and we might need a little help through some legal documents to make sure we've got the care we need. What are some of the legal documents of why we want to do estate planning sooner rather than later? What are some of the things you like to see in the packet?
You absolutely want a will or a trust, and that's different depending on the types of assets that you have, right? And a lot of times we lean towards trust. We like the trust. But you want to have power of attorneys for healthcare and power of attorney for financial, meaning that if you are still alive and are incapacitated, maybe you're in a coma, maybe you have dementia, God forbid, and you can no longer make these decisions for yourself, that you set up a person or a team of persons to make those decisions for you, ones that you trust. Maybe it's even, and that's what a lot of folks say is like, I don't know that I trust one person to make those decisions for me. You can actually set up a team, including a doctor, including your attorney. You can set up a team to make those decisions for you so that you know that if I cannot make these decisions, here is how I'm specifying I want them to happen, and your wishes will be made known. We want to see those power of attorney documents in every estate plan.
So wills, trusts, power of attorneys for financial, power of attorneys for health care, advanced care directives.
That's right.
We are not estate planning attorneys, but these are core documents that actually impact your financial situation. And if you don't have them, there is a major gap in your plan. So check out thelegacyquiz.com, and of course, take advantage of this complimentary consultation that we offer to be able to talk through these things on a much more personal level than we can here over the airwaves. We want to get specific to your situation, what the nitty-gritty looks like for you to ensure all your bases are covered and you're not depending on your grandparents' retirement, but you are creating your own and you have all the tools in your toolbox to do that.
The complimentary consultation, it's more than a 15-minute conversation. This is an hour. This can be 90 minutes. This can be coming back to the office once again, maybe even a third time, putting together your written financial plan. That's what Jay and Brittany offer to you for you to get started on your own written financial plan for retirement. Retirement for 30 years. Make sure you've got a plan. Call the phone number right now down on the bottom of the screen or scan that QR code so you can get started right now. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.